All right, hello class, and welcome to week 12, which is also the beginning of our project 4. In other words, this is the beginning of our last real project that we'll be doing this semester. Project 5 will just be kind of a short reflective letter that you guys will just kind of think about your experience throughout the semester. And so this is really your last big project that we'll be doing. And what you'll see in a minute is that this is kind of the culmination of all the work you've done so far. And so it's absolutely the culmination of the kind of research ideas you developed in Project 1. It's kind of building on some of the things that you noticed in Project 2. You're going to be using the majority of what you wrote in Project 3 in this project. And so you're going to be using all of that to essentially enter into the conversation that you just traced in your lit review by proposing some sort of new idea, some new approach to the problem that you saw, the problem that you kind of traced in that lit review. And so what I want to do in this video is I want to start off with just kind of an overview of the week's work, and then we will take a look at the assignment description for Project 4. Then we'll take a look at Blog 7, just to kind of run down what I'm looking for there, and then we'll quickly open up and glance at the student samples. Now, as with the last couple projects that we've done, I will be posting a walkthrough video of the sample essays at a later date, either at the end of this week or early next week, but you will have that from me at some point. Okay, so let's take a look at this week's work. And so first up is I want you to go ahead and read the Project 4 assignment description. Now we will go over that in a second, but I also want you to go back over it again on your own just to see if there's any questions or concerns that you have, if there's anything that stands out as potentially confusing. The other readings that you have due for this week, I want you to take a look at the Chapter 8 of our book, Developing an Argument, and this is going to be our goal in this project. So now that you've had a chance to look at other people's arguments, it's time for you to develop your own argument and to think about how you want to approach this topic. Whether or not you're going to be disagreeing with someone, agreeing with someone, proposing a new idea, extending research, whatever it is. Essentially, you're going to be building off of that CARS model thing that we looked at last week, that kind of developing your own space within the research to say something new, say something unique, essentially. You'll also be looking at Chapter 9, Selecting and Integrating Evidence. Now, this is something that I've already been really pleased with. In Project 3, you guys had a really good opportunity to think about how to integrate evidence into your own words, and I saw a lot of you doing some really good things. But this is just going to help us continue to think about how to properly integrate evidence, and it's something that I'll actually be devoting a video to later on as we move forward, because integrating evidence into your work is one of the hardest things to do in writing. And last but not least, for the reading, you'll be looking at the student samples for Project 4, which I posted down here. All right, so now thinking about the actual work that's due for this week, you'll notice that you have a couple things going on here. You've got a draft of your Project 4 introduction that I'll talk about in a second, but you also have a blog post due. So let's start with the blog post because I think that can actually help us think about what an introductory draft might look like. And so if we come down here to the blog post, it's basically asking you to think about what your thesis statement might be for this essay. Now, the goal for this assignment is to propose a solution to the problem, essentially, or propose an approach to the topic that is the topic that you researched in Project 3 that is unique and that does interest you. And so this will make more sense when you see it in your in the sample essays. But essentially what I'm asking you to do is to take a stake in this issue. And so, for example, it'd be like if you sat down at the table with all the people who were arguing the things that you just read in your lit review, and they turned to you and said, "What do you think? What do you think we should do?" This is your chance to start to say that. It's your chance to actually stand in and enter into the conversation as an expert. And so let's take a look at the blog post. So for this blog post, upload a set of notes in which you identify key pieces of evidence from the source you're using in your research proposal and describe how, where, and why you'll use them. To do this, write your proposal argument at the top, and then list evidence you will use from your research to support this idea. For example, if you spent Project 3 researching rising college tuition costs and your proposal idea is to provide health care to all enrolled students, then your notes might look like something like this. So my proposal argument is, I propose that the Board of Regents for the university counter the rising expense of higher ed by providing health care. And then you would just basically list your evidence like, oh, I found this article, this article, this article. Okay, so let me slow down and break this down for you guys. What I want to stress to you about Project 4 is that you've already done the hard work. All of the research that you'll need for this essay is in your lit review, essentially. The point of doing the lit review is to provide you guys with the research and the information you need to actually make an argument. And so what you'll be doing in this project is literally copying and revising minimally the majority of your lit review into this paper. So essentially you'll have an introduction in which you state your topic for the essay. You'll have your lit review that you just wrote, and then you'll come back in with your proposal argument, and you'll say, based on everything that I just read, this is what I think we should do to solve the problem that all of these people are talking about. And so what I want you to do with this blog post is to think about everything that you just read about, or to think about the topic that they were talking about, and see if you can come up with some way to enter into the conversation. Now, if you go back to last week's video, you'll notice when I was talking about that CARS model, there's a couple ways that you can do this. One, you can propose an entirely new solution. So you can say, like, look, all of the things that they did is great, or it's not working. This is something new that I think we should try. You could disagree with someone. You could say, like, look, all of these people are saying these things, however, they're wrong, and here's why. You could try to extend research. You could say, all of these people are really good, and I think we should continue with what they're talking about by doing X, Y, and Z. And so basically, how would you extend their research in a new and exciting way? Or you could suggest that we don't have enough information about this topic, and you could outline some sort of study or research guide or something like that that would allow us to gather more information. And so, in other words, if you're being asked to give your opinion about how to move forward in relationship to this topic, then it's going to probably be one of those four methods, right? Saying something new, disagreeing with somebody and arguing for why, agreeing with somebody and arguing that you need to extend their work in significant ways, or suggesting that we don't have enough information to move forward, and then proposing a way to gather more information. So those are your kind of ways. And so, in other words, this would look like a proposal argument. You would say, based on all of this, I propose that we, or somebody specifically, does something. So I propose that somebody does something. And it's your goal to fill in those blanks. Who is this somebody? What is this something they should do? And so, for example, if you were researching college tuition costs, right, you just spent your entire lit review talking about how college students can't afford tuition, then what you might say is something like this. Like, look, one way to counter that cost would be to give them health care, because then at least they're not worried about that cost. And so you could say, I propose that the Board of Regents extends health care to all their students, right, because that would kind of cut down on some of their costs. So that's just one idea. You could also say, the authors in my lit review discussing ways to cut costs for students are wrong because they don't consider these things. Or you could say, we don't know what the real cost is of tuition, therefore I propose this survey or this study to find out, right? And so these are the ways that you can enter into the conversation, no matter what it is that you're talking about, whether it's medical field, business, whatever it is. These are the methods that you can use to actually enter into the conversation. And so what I want you to do is I want you to think about your lit review and about the topic that you were tracing in that lit review, and to think about how you now want to enter into the conversation. What kind of stance do you want to take? And I want you to phrase it like that proposal argument. I propose that somebody does something. Now, once you've done that, I want you to try to just jot down some notes. Now, these don't have to be binding. You can feel free to change these, whatever. I just want to see you start to think about where you might go, with evidence to kind of make this case. And so just jot down like 3 articles or sources that you found in your lit review that might support your idea. And so, in other words, if you said, I want to propose healthcare, you could go to, say, source number 1 was talking about, other student costs. You say, like, look, this source is really good because it's helping me understand what other things students are paying for. And so that's the goal. And so I want you to try to think about what your proposal argument might be, because that is going to be your thesis statement for this essay. And then to think about what is some evidence that you might include. And so I say it should include at least 8 entries here. That's ideal, but just get as many as you can. Do at least 3, but see if you can come up with some some ways that you would argue this proposal, some pieces of evidence that you would use. If you can do at least 3, then you'll be off to a good start. Okay, so now let's jump back then to what an introduction for this essay might look like. Now, what students have tended to do in the past is they've actually taken their lit review introduction and they've revised it for this project, which is the reason why I have it kind of, it's such a quick turnaround, because this project is largely a revision of Project 3, and so there's a lot of material that we already have to work with. And so what I want you to do with this introduction is I want you to think about how it is you're going to enter in that conversation. So think about what this might be, and this might actually form the basis of this. And so, again, I have it up here by Friday, but I mean, really what I'm looking for is if you can get both these in by Sunday. Don't worry about peer response yet on these. Let's just get these in by Sunday, and then we'll go from there. Because what I want to see you guys doing is to think about how it is you can enter into the conversation. And so what I'm looking for in a draft of your introduction is I want you to clearly describe the topic that you are going to be investigating, and I want you to start to talk to me about why it's an important topic or problem. Why is it the most important topic or problem to tackle? And so out of all the topics in the medical field, why is this one important, or whatever field you're working in? So again, what is the topic? Why is it important? And so again, this can be largely a revision of your Project 4 as long as you're doing, or I'm sorry, of your Project 3 introduction, because you're already starting to do some of those things. And so just to recap, I'm looking for what is your topic, why is it important, then what is your thesis statement, and what is some evidence you might look at. So that's what I'm looking for this week. Now, next week, obviously, we don't have a lot of work to do because of the Thanksgiving break. And so I feel okay giving us a little breathing room by just kind of starting with these, not worrying too much about peer review yet. But if you can get these done, we'll be in good shape. So last but not least, I want to kind of just go over quickly the samples that we have here. So take a look at these. These are going to be a really good example of what these look like. So you'll see here's an introduction. This is kind of close to what we're looking for. Again, this is largely a revision of what theirs was from their lit review. And so again, we've just got a lot of stuff pulled from the lit review. So we've got, the statement of the problem, and then we have a discussion of why it's an important problem. And so take a look at that. But then you'll see here, okay, so we're at page, beginning of page 3. And then as you'll notice that the majority of this paper, like this kind of the middle section, is actually the lit review copied in, right? And so that's what you'll be doing as well. Is you'll be using your lit review. Oops, sorry, this is my own work I'm doing. Just go away. And so you'll actually be copying in large chunks of your lit review to use this. And so again, what I want to stress is feel free to revise sections of your lit review for use in this project. Don't feel like it's dishonest or whatever. That's the point. Because the idea is the lit review provides you the material that you'll need to do Project 4. And so revise it, bring it in, use it. That's what it's for. So again, here's the other example we have. So take a look at that. All right, class. So just to recap, go away. So just to recap, this is our transition week. And so take a look at the readings, focus on trying to come up with a draft of your introduction and your blog 7 by this weekend. Again, I'll be posting walkthrough videos for the samples at a later date. And if you have any questions or anything like that, please email me as soon as possible and I will get back to you. Thanks.